Welcome everybody to another episode of EDH Workshop. I'm MC Sebzi. Welcome to the Monkaroos channel. Back with another deck tech. This is one of the first decks I've built. This is my second deck ever. Used to be a Azorius just control deck, just nasty Azorius stuff. Drawing cards, tapping things down, exiling stuff, yada yada. And then kind of evolved as I kind of made more decks, took some cards out, and wanted to keep it alive though. But let's get into it. This is my Daxus deck. Kneel before Daxus. This deck has been through a lot, definitely changed a lot. Still got a lot of the original Planeswalkers in it. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. So Daxus of Meletis is a 2/2. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater, so pretty evasive, and then deals combat damage to a player. It exiles the top card of that player's library. I gain life equal to the CMC of the card, and then I can cast that card and spend mana as though it were any color. So kind of steals and stuff. The deck was never really built around Daxus as much. Again, it used to just be Azorius good stuff, but the more I kind of got into it and stuff, noticed there was a bit more themes and stuff, and some cards shifted out of it and really just became this tap down deck. So everyone kneels before Daxus and everyone's unable to block him, and lets him do his thing. And it's nothing too scary, so never really too much of a target. It's just taking a card, gaining some life, nothing ridiculous. He's only a 2/2 as well. But yeah, let's jump in. Let's jump into the Planeswalkers. First things first. This deck had about 7 Planeswalkers initially. I've definitely taken some out and added some in as it's gone through. But yeah, we got Dovin, Hand of Control. Just makes my spells a bit cheaper. Instant sorceries and artifacts specifically, and then I can prevent damage that target permanent would deal. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to and dealt by target permanent and opponent controls. So kind of prevents something from hitting me. Gideon of the Trials is in here mainly because of the emblem that says I can't lose the game as long as I control a Gideon Planeswalker. But also, solid, prevents some damage, becomes a 4/4. Mainly there for the game loss thing. It used to be a lot of that in this deck. But yeah, then we got Jace, Architect of Thought. Until my next turn, whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, it gets -1/-0, so a bit of damage prevention. Then it kind of has a Factor Fiction on the -2, and then -8. Each player searches the library for a non-land card, exile it. For each player, I search that player's library for a card, exile it, and then cast those cards without paying. So kind of fits the steal theme. Solid card. I got Tamiyo the Moon Sage in here, taps down a target permanent, doesn't untap, also draws me cards for each tapped creature target player controls, excellent, and I get an emblem with no max hand size, and whenever a card is put into a graveyard from anywhere, I return it to my hand. So, great recursion, just all around solid Planeswalker. The Wandering Emperor is a new addition. Flashes in, and if it entered the battlefield this turn, I can use its abilities at instant speed. Exiles a tapped creature, which is great for this deck. Create a 2/2 Samurai, or give something a counter in first strike. Very useful. Putting that counter in first strike on my commander stops all the 2 power things from hitting it. So yeah, pretty useful. Onto the creatures though. So the whole deck is just about tapping things down. We got Azen Bureaucrats, taps target creature with power 2 or less. Azor's Elocutors, weird ass word. But this basically says at the beginning of my upkeep, I put a filibuster counter on it, and if I have 5 or more on it, I win the game. But when a source deals damage to me, I remove a counter from it. But as I'm tapping everything down, very rarely will that happen, so it's a bit of a win con in the deck, very useful. But yeah, solid card. Blinding Soul Eater lets me pay 2 life and tap it to tap a target creature down. Catalysm is a Gear Hulk, it's a bit of a board wipe. Everybody chooses like one of each permanent type and sacrifices the rest. We got Dream Shackle Geist, that at the beginning of combat on my turn, I can tap a target creature, or a target creature doesn't untap during its next untap step. Being able to tap something every turn is useful, especially in this deck. Gideon's Avenger, great card in this. Whenever when a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, I put a +1 counter on it. Solid card. We got Gideon's Lawkeeper, 1 white tap a creature. Grand Arbiter's in here. He used to always be in here since the OG days. Solid card. I know it's a bit stacksy, makes everything cost one more, but I'm mainly using it for my spell reduction, mana reduction, sorry. White and blue spells cost one less. Very useful. I got Guafa Hazid in here, puts a bribery counter on something. That player draws a card, but that creature can't attack or block if it's got a bribery counter on it, so really solid card. My buddy used to have a Guafa Hazid deck, and it's quite annoying, but yeah, super cool card in here. Kind of fits the theme of tapping something down, but I guess, you know, it's not being tapped, it's just kind of unable to attack or block, which is mainly what we're going for. Spiria, when a creature attacks me or a Planeswalker I control, I can draw a card. Super useful. If they are trying to get at me with their untapped creatures, this will kind of benefit me. Card draw is always good. Lavinia the 10th enters the battlefield and detains each non-land permanent my opponents control with converted mana cost 4 or less. Also one of the original cards in the deck. Used to have a lot of detain in the deck. It was really big back then, but yeah, you know, again, similar to tapping down, things can't block, attack. A lot of this tap down really helps things get through easily, so my commander's almost always guaranteed to get through, gain me that life, get me the extra card. Metamai the Ageless is in here as well. When it deals combat damage to a player, take an extra turn. Again, things tapping down, I'm able to tap things at will, so I just gotta tap down all their flyers, and I'm almost always getting an extra turn with this guy. He can't attack on the extra turns, which is fine. I don't mind just having one extra turn. Voidstalker is a really cool card. It's just a 2-mana 2/1, but I can tap 3 and tap it to put it and target creature an opponent controls. Oh no, just any target creature on top of their owner's libraries, and then those players shuffle, so I can kind of, you know, like get rid of something without having to destroy it or exile it or anything. It just shuffles back into the library. So does Voidstalker, but hey, even better for next time. I got Timon and Rhoda in here, so these are newer guys. They actually fit the theme perfectly. So at the beginning of combat, I can tap up to 1 target creature, and then when it or Rhoda enters the battlefield, they search for each other. Excellent. Rhoda basically gives me, whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared an attacker, I put a +1 counter on it, so tapping things down benefits me. I got Sunblast Angel, destroys all tapped creatures, awesome card of the deck. Sun Titan's in here to return things 3 or less for my deck. There used to be a Blink theme in the deck, but that kind of got weeded out, but still great card, returns a lot of useful pieces that are 3 mana. Gideon's Avenger, Dream Shackle, all my tappers are like usually 3 mana, even my commander's 3 mana, so if need be. I got Reservoir Kraken's a new one in here. At the beginning of combat, if it's untapped, an opponent may tap an untapped creature, and if they do, I'll tap this and create a 1/1 blue fish that's unblockable. Super cool because now I'm kind of getting my opponents to either be hit by a 6/6 trample or tap one of their own creatures, so it fits the theme excellently. Wall of Denial's in here, one of the original cards as well. Great card, I love this card. Definitely a pet card for me, but can't go wrong with a Defender Flying Shroud 0/8. And then I got Wall of Omens just for the card draw mainly, but also a good blocker. Then onto sorceries, we got Bond of Discipline. Taps all creatures my opponents control and gives all my creatures lifelink, so fitting both, you know, the life gains and also tapping everything down beautifully. Dusk destroys all creatures power 3 or greater, again my commander's safe, and then returns all creatures with power 2 or less from my graveyard to my hand. Fits really nicely too. I got a lot of small cards, even some of my walls. Energy Tap, this is actually a new card I put in. I can tap a creature I control and add an amount of colorless equal to its casting cost to my mana pool. So kind of just like a big mana impulse, sort of like a Dark Ritual in the sense, but can add something like 6 mana if I got a Sun Titan out, right? Taps my own creatures, so it's kind of got that downside, but don't mind if everything an opponent has is tapped down anyways. Hidden Strings, it can tap or untap another target permanent, and then I could do it again, and then it ciphers on, so whenever a creature connects, I'm able to cast this without paying its mana cost. Super useful, especially putting it on my commander since it's connecting all the time. And I got everything tapped down, so not too hard to connect. Preordain, just scries 2, draws a card. Runic Shot, it destroys a tapped creature for 1 mana, but I can kick it for an extra mana and scry 2, so not terrible. Theft of Dreams, for each tapped creature target opponent controls, I draw a card. This is usually a lot of cards. Temporal Mastery's in here, just one of the classic cards I had in here. Take an extra turn. If I can get that miracle cost off it, excellent. If not, takes a little bit of time, but solid, useful card. Supreme Verdict, just a board wipe, excellent card. And then Sleep, taps all creatures target player controls Super great card too. On to instance, we got Azorius Charm just for some, usability, I guess. Gives things lifelinks, draw a card, or put an attacking or blocking creature on top of its owner's library. Cloud Shift, there's a bit of that blink left over, but it's useful to just exile something, return to the battlefield. My commander, if it's getting targeted with something, an opponent's creature if it's attacking me, even just to, recur some of these blink effects that are really solid. Draw a card, return something, destroy all tapped creatures. Useful to have that ability. Deluge is in here, taps all creatures without flying, often taps all the board. Frost Breath taps 2 target creatures and they don't untap, which is useful. Glimpse of the Sun God, I can tap X target creatures and then I scry one, so I can just pay a bunch of mana however much I need. Same thing with Gridlock, tap X creatures. We got Jabari Disruption, just a solid counter spell, land on the back. Mana Leak here, also just counters a spell. Path to Exile, exile a creature, you know what it does. Redirect chooses a new target for target spell, so kind of like a counter spell, but to my benefit. Safe Passage just prevents all combat damage to me and creatures I control, I guess. Sphinx's Revelation, I gain X life and draw X cards. So if once later in the game I got a bunch of mana, I could draw a bunch, I could gain a bunch of life. Super useful card. Also just one of the OG cards in the deck, so can't take them all out. We got Turn to Mist to just exile something and brings it back on the end step. Again, useful removal if needed, but also helps with blink strategies and protection. Stall for Time, taps 2 creatures, and if I kick it for an extra 2, I put stun counters on them so they don't untap on their untap step, and I draw a card. Bident of Thassa onto artifacts. This is also one of the original cards in here. When a creature connects, I draw a card, and I can also make creatures my opponents control attack this turn if able, so kind of makes a pseudo tap down their board. If they attack me, no big deal, but yeah, just gives me more ability to attack in and connect. Draws me a bunch of cards also. Cold Steel Heart. I put a bunch of 2 mana ramp in here because I thought my commander's 3, so I'd want to be ramping on 2 because on 3 I want to be playing my commander almost indefinitely. Cold Steel Heart enters tapped, but you either choose blue or white and then test for that mana. I got Lightning Greaves in here. Gives my commander haste and shroud. Attacks right away. Can't be targeted. Perfect. Marble Diamond. Just 2. Sky Diamond. Also mana rock. And then enchantments. For enchantments, Citadel Siege is a good one. It enters, I can either put 2/+1 counters on target creature I control, or I can tap target creature, and that player controls at the beginning of each opponent's turn, sorry. So pretty useful. Taps things down, which is usually the mode I go for, but also can make my commander big and beefy, or something else. Debtor's Pulpit. Makes a land able to tap target creature down. Super useful. 5 mana is a bit pricey, but having that extra land, to prevent an attack or whatnot, super great. Grasp of the Hieromancer gives enchanted creature +1, and when it attacks, I tap target creature that player controls. Again, fitting the theme. Propaganda, just kind of here to help me out a bit, slow things down if I'm getting attacked heavily, haste and whatnot. But yeah, they gotta pay 2. Staggering Insight's a great card. It gives a creature +1/+1 lifelink, and when they deal damage, draw a card. Good on the commander and whatnot. Steel of the Godhead's also in here, because there's kind of like, since I'm attacking and connecting with my commander so much, I do want some, benefits other than just his ability. So this also gives him lifelink and a blockable +2/+2 as well. Super useful card, great in this deck. Wings of Aether, also an enchantment that I can give my commander flying, first strike, and +1/+0. Good for, again, hitting things that are 2/2s and whatnot, since it can only be blocked by things power 2 or less. The first strike really benefits it that way. Veridity Circle. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it's not being declared as an attacker, I can draw a card. Great card. And then I could tap a creature for 5 mana. Not as useful, but I do have lots of tappers in the deck, so this is always just netting me cards. Temporary Lockdown I recently added. Thought, it's pretty solid. Gets rid of everything that's under my commander, and gets rid of a lot of those things that have power 2 or less, so really useful to stop blockers for him. And that's the deck. Got my land here, just Thespian Stage, simple Azorius stuff. This is solid, it gains me life and draws me cards. But yeah, that's the deck. Honestly, I got some considering cards. I think those are just cards I removed from the deck, so never mind. But that's the deck. There's some stats about it. yeah, my Azorius tap down deck. Glad Daxus is still alive. It was one of the first commanders, again, like second commander deck I ever built. Super cool deck. Glad it's where it's at now. It's a lot more, you know, focused and a lot less just Azorius good stuff. But yeah, definitely check it out on the Mox field. I'm MC_Sebzy. You can find me there. Check out the Monkaroos channel. I got a bunch more decks on there. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch everybody in the next one. Take it easy.